My name is Tyler, and I've served in the U.S. Army for over 10 years. I've done 3 tours, seen things I still don't talk about, and learned that discipline and silence can be the sharpest weapons a man has. I've been through ambushes, sleepless nights in enemy territory, and months away from everything familiar. But nothing prepared me for what I was about to face. It was supposed to be a regular morning. I was stationed overseas on deployment, halfway through my tour. We'd just returned from a long patrol. My boots were still muddy. Dust clung to my uniform. My body ached for rest. I sat down on the edge of my bunk, ready to take a breath and maybe read a message from my wife, something to remind me why I was doing all this. But instead of a "I miss you" or "stay safe," I got a text that shattered everything. I filed for divorce. Please don't contact me. I've moved the money out of our account. I need it more than you. That was it. No explanation. No warning. Just those few cold words. I blinked, thinking maybe I read it wrong. I reread the message. Still the same. My hands trembled. I didn't even realize I'd stood up until I was outside, staring out across the desert. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was just empty. For a few minutes, the world went silent. I could hear my own heartbeat pounding my ears. My wife and I had been married for nearly 6 years. We met back in Georgia while I was stationed at Fort Stewart. She worked at a small downtown clothing store. I liked how strong-willed she was. Confident. Bold. She said she loved my discipline. How focused I was on building a future. I thought we were building that future together. Apparently, I was wrong. Before deployment, I made sure she had access to everything she needed. We had a joint account. My pay went in there like clockwork. I left her in charge of bills, groceries, rent, everything. I even encouraged her to go back to school, and she did. I was proud of that. I believed in her. But now all of that was gone. The love, the money, the trust. It vanished in a single message. And it wasn't just that she emptied the joint account. She did it while I was deployed, while I was thousands of miles from home, in a combat zone, while I was counting on her to have my back. I couldn't even access most of my funds anymore. She moved everything out. I had less than $50 left in a separate account I'd forgotten about. She hadn't touched that one. Probably didn't even know existed. I didn't answer her message. I didn't even tell anyone in my unit. I just went quiet. Some guys would have exploded, cried, screamed. Not me. I've seen what acting on emotion can cost you. So I waited. I watched. I planned. Every day after that, I used my downtime to gather information. I remembered I still had access to a few of our shared digital accounts. Stuff she probably forgot was still linked to me. Netflix, email, our smart home camera system. And there it was, just days after she sent that text. I saw another man in the background of our living room, sitting on my couch, drinking from my mug. He was someone I knew, someone who used to be my friend. He had once asked me for help during a tough time, slept in our guest room for a couple weeks after a bad breakup. I gave him food, lent him clothes, trusted him. Now, he was sleeping in my bed. I stared at the camera footage for hours, watching them laugh, cook together, kiss when they thought no one was watching. I downloaded every clip, saved every timestamp. This wasn't an accident. This was a betrayal that had been building for months, and they thought I was too far away to notice. But what they didn't realize was that I've been trained to observe, to wait, to strike when the time is right. I started keeping records. Screenshots of purchases made from a joint account, luxury handbags, spa visits, plane tickets. She was spending like money grew on trees. She even bought tickets for a vacation cruise. 2 tickets. That confirmed everything. She didn't just abandon me. She replaced me. But here's the thing. What she did wasn't just cold. It was illegal under the Service Member Civil Relief Act. She wasn't allowed to empty our joint accounts while I was deployed. She couldn't file for divorce without proper notice. And using my military pay to fund an affair, she had no idea what was coming for her. I contacted an old friend from back home, Jacob. He was now a divorce attorney, and one of the best when it came to military cases. I sent him everything. He was furious on my behalf, but impressed by how much evidence I had already gathered. Jacob told me to keep watching, keep collecting. We were going to hit her with everything we had. But not yet. Let her think she's won, he said. We'll make sure she feels a fall when it comes. So I did just that. I never replied to her message. I never warned her. I let her believe I was gone, distracted, broken, too far away to do anything. Meanwhile, I kept building the case. I created folders on my laptop titled Affair, Unauthorized Spending, and Neglect. I printed copies of emails, purchase histories, bank statements, even the cruise confirmation. She used our shared email to book it, never once thinking I could still see everything. But that wasn't the end of it. One day, I logged into our home security system. I had set it up before I left, mostly for safety. But now, it had become my window into the life she tried to erase me from. And what I saw next turned my stomach. It wasn't her on the camera. It wasn't the man either. It was her sister. She was in my house, going through drawers. She looked nervous, like she was searching for something. Then she opened a small box tucked away beneath the TV stand. My private box. Inside was a USB drive, the one I had mailed home early in the deployment, a backup of everything. Every bit of evidence organized and sealed, in case something happened to me out there. And she found it. Her eyes widened when she held it up to the light. Then she turned to the camera. She looked straight into the lens, straight at me, and then she reached forward and unplugged the entire system. I stared at the blank screen, stunned. The live feed from my home security camera had gone completely dark. One moment, I was watching her sister holding the USB drive, and the next, it was all gone, disconnected. She looked directly into the camera before she did it, almost like she knew I was watching. My heart raced. That flash drive wasn't just a backup. It was the core of my case. It had every screenshot, video clip, transaction log, email, and even a few personal recordings I'd made. If she took it, or worse, destroyed it, I jumped up from my bunk so fast that I knocked over the chair I was sitting on. One of my squad mates looked over, concerned. "You good, Tyler?" he asked. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just remembered something I forgot to do." I couldn't let this shake me. I'd made copies of the digital files, sure, but that flash drive was the only one that had everything, including a few voice memos and documents I hadn't backed up yet. And now it was in the hands of someone who had no business touching it. I messaged Jacob right away. He told me to stay calm. This could actually work in our favor, he said. If she accessed that drive, we can hit them with data theft too. But we need to move fast. So we moved. I gave Jacob power of attorney for my affairs back home. He filed a court motion for emergency protective orders on all digital materials, including the security footage, bank transactions, and even that USB drive. Meanwhile, he quietly began building the court case against her and her lover, plus, now, her sister. While Jacob handled the legal side, I focused on gathering every remaining piece of digital proof. My deployment was wrapping up in less than 3 weeks. I used every second of downtime to organize the data again, just in case I needed to rebuild the case from scratch. I stored on cloud backups, encrypted folders, even an old hard drive I mailed back to my mom's house. But it wasn't just about revenge anymore. It became a matter of principle. They had tried to erase me, bury me, replace me. I wasn't going to let that happen. The day I landed back in the U.S., I didn't go to what used to be my home. I went straight to my parents' place in Alabama. My mom hugged me so tight, I thought she'd break my ribs. My dad, a quiet Vietnam vet, gave me one of those slow nods that said, "Whatever happened, we're with you." I didn't even unpack before driving over to Jacob's office in Atlanta. He looked up when I walked in and grinned. "Welcome home, soldier. Ready to make some noise?" We spent hours reviewing everything I gathered. The emails, the video clips, the phone records. He was right. The case was solid. Strong enough to not only counter her divorce claim, but hit her with a civil lawsuit for financial abuse and emotional distress. Even the cruise ticket came back to help us. It was booked using my name on the payment. I hadn't authorized that. more legal firepower, and then Jacob dropped a bombshell. She didn't just clear your account, he said, flipping through a set of documents. She opened a new one using your social security number. Tried to take out a loan in your name. That's identity fraud. I was stunned. I hadn't known it had gone that far. Jacob leaned back in his chair, cracking his knuckles. We're going to own her in court. But we're not just going after the divorce. We're going after everything. A few days later, we served her with the counter lawsuit. My soon-to-be ex didn't see it coming. She had been flaunting her new life on social media, bragging about her freedom, posting vacation selfies, pretending to be some kind of boss woman who'd left a toxic marriage. Now, she was being summoned for court. The fallout was immediate. She called my phone. First time since the text. I didn't answer. Then came the text. Why are you doing this? We could have been civil. You don't have to ruin my life over this. I said nothing. The next morning, she sent a long message trying to play the victim. She said she was confused, that I was never home, that she didn't know how to be alone anymore. I ignored her. Then came a new message. Can we meet and talk? Please. That was the first time I felt tempted to respond. Part of me wanted to hear what she had to say. Another part wanted to scream. But the strongest part of me, the part that had grown tougher to betrayal, knew this was just guilt, not remorse. So, again, I said nothing. But she wasn't done. Just days before our first court date, something strange happened. I was coming back from the gym when my mom called me out to the porch. There's someone here asking for you, she said, frowning. I stepped outside, and there she was, standing in the driveway in a black hoodie and sunglasses, holding a small box in her hands. Her car was still running at the curb. I didn't say anything, just stood there. She walked up slowly. Her voice trembled. I'm sorry, she whispered. I brought this back. She handed me the box. It was a flash drive, the same one her sister took. I stared at it. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. Her eyes were red. Her hands were shaking. I didn't know what was on it, she said quietly. I didn't mean for all of this to happen the way it did. I thought I was doing what I needed to. I didn't say a word. I didn't move. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she nodded, stepped back, and walked her car. I know you hate me, she said before getting in. I probably deserve that. But I wanted to give this back before it went too far. Then she drove away. My mom stood behind me silently. I turned the flash drive in my hand, still not sure what just happened. When I plugged it into my laptop later that night, everything was there. Every file untouched, even the hidden ones. But something new had been added, a video file. It was shaky footage taken from a phone, maybe inside a car. I hit play, and what I saw made my jaw drop. The video showed her boyfriend, my former friend, sitting in the car with someone else. It wasn't my ex. It was her sister. They were holding hands and kissing. The same sister who had unplugged my security camera. The same sister who returned the flash drive. I froze. Did she give it back because she was guilty or because she had been betrayed too? And most of all, how long had this been going on? I watched that video 5 times in a row, frozen in disbelief. There was no mistaking what I was seeing. The man in the video, my former friend, the one who moved into my house like a snake, was now kissing my ex-wife's sister, in her car, at night, laughing, whispering, kissing again. So this was never just about betrayal. It was about layers of betrayal. He had lied to me, of course. So had she. But now he had turned around and stabbed her in the back too? With her own blood? And the sister, why had she recorded it? Why had she handed me the flash drive? Was it revenge? Was it guilt? Or had she just wanted to expose him now that he'd done to her sister what he did to me? Either way, I knew one thing now for certain. The people who had tried to ruin me were too busy ruining each other, and I still had the upper hand. I sent the video straight to Jacob. He called me 30 minutes later, nearly out of breath with excitement. Tyler, this is gold. We're not just dealing with financial fraud anymore. This is a soap opera, and the court is going to eat it up. I wasn't smiling yet. Not until it was over. But inside, I felt something shift. The pain that had gripped me for weeks, tight like a fist around my chest, was starting to loosen. I could breathe again. Not fully, but enough to think clearly. Jacob and I finalized everything for court. We filed for damages, pressed fraud charges, and built the strongest case we could. The bank confirmed our claims. The military legal team even offered support with testimony regarding spousal abuse and misconduct. I kept my mouth shut the entire time. No social media, no texts, no calls. I let them keep running their mouths, posting pictures, taking shots at me online, try and make it look like I was some deadbeat husband who left her all alone. But now I had proof, in her own sister's hands, that they were all liars. Still, there was one thing that didn't sit right with me. Why had her sister really come forward? I needed answers. So, against Jacob's advice, I called her. She picked up on the first ring. "I was wondering when you'd call," she said quietly. "I saw the video." I replied. She paused and said, "Yeah, I figured you would." "Why give it to me?" I asked. "Why help me now?" There was a long silence. Then she sighed. "Because he played all of us," she said. "He told me he loved me, that she was just a distraction, that once the divorce was finalized, we'd leave together. And you believe him?" "I did," she whispered, "until I found out he was saying the same thing to her." She told me everything. Apparently, the affair had started when my wife was still pretending everything was fine. Her sister had been staying with them for a while, recovering from surgery. Somewhere in between, he started sleeping with both of them. At first, they didn't know. But as soon as my wife filed for divorce, the sister thought she won. Turns out, he was just using both for money, sex, and a free place to stay. Now that everything was catching up to him, he'd bailed on both, moved in with someone new, another woman, another lie. "I'm not proud of what I did," she admitted, "but I didn't sign up to be made a fool. I saw what he did to you. Then he did it to us. I wanted someone to win. And honestly, you're the only one who deserves to." I hung up the phone after that. I didn't say thank you. I didn't say I forgive you. I just ended the call. I didn't need her apology. I didn't want her sympathy. I just wanted justice. The court date finally came. And oh, was it a day to remember. She walked in wearing a power suit, like she was walking into a job interview, not a courtroom. Her fake boyfriend didn't show. Neither did her sister. I watched her scan the room nervously, expecting support, but there was none. I came in with Jacob and 2 military JAG officers who volunteered to speak on my behalf. My mom sat behind me, quiet and strong. My dad nodded as I walked past. We presented everything: the financial abuse, the unauthorized spending, the forged loan applications, the cruise tickets, the security cam footage, the bank statements. And then Jacob dropped the bombshell. He played the video. The courtroom was silent. You could hear the breath leave her lungs. Her face went pale. The judge raised his eyebrows. "And who is this?" Jacob replied calmly, "Her sister, Your Honor." This video was submitted voluntarily by the defendant's ex-sister-in-law. It confirms infidelity, collusion, and deception during the marriage. Her mouth opened like she wanted to speak, but she had nothing to say. The judge asked her if she wanted to respond. She shook her head, eyes wide. In the end, the court ruled in my favor. She was ordered to repay the full amount taken from the account, with penalties. She lost all rights to spousal benefits. Her fraud case was turned over for criminal review. And best of all, I got the house. She walked out of that courtroom alone, her heels clicking too loud on the tile floor, head down, shoulders slumped. And for the first time since that text message, I smiled. But the story wasn't over yet. That night, as I packed a few things into the truck and drove to my newly returned home, I got one more message. Not from her, not from her sister, from him. "You think you've won? This ain't over, man." I stared at the message. I had just crushed their lies in court. But now he was back, threatening me? I didn't reply. But I knew this wasn't finished yet, because if he thought he could scare me, he clearly forgot one thing. I faced worse than him in a war zone. I stared at the message for a long time. You think you've won? This ain't over, man. He had the nerve to threaten me after everything? After crawling into my life like a parasite, wrecking my marriage, draining my account, and getting exposed in court. He was the one playing the victim? I didn't reply. I wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. But I didn't ignore it either. I sent the screenshot to Jacob. He called me back in minutes. You need to be careful, Tyler, he warned. We've already filed everything with the court, but if he's making threats now, we document everything. No more surprises. Understood, I said. I had been home barely a week and was still getting used to the silence. The house felt different. Cold, empty, like the memories had all been scraped out of the walls. But I wasn't scared. I was trained for worse. If this guy thought he could shake me, he had no idea who he was messing with. Still, I made preparations. I installed new locks, upgraded the security system, put in motion-activated cameras around the property. I didn't tell anyone where I lived. No social media, no address updates. Only my parents and Jacob knew. I wasn't paranoid. I was prepared. But just 3 days later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a message. It was a video, an anonymous number. No caption, just a 5-second clip. In the dark, headlights sweep across a familiar driveway. My driveway. Then a man steps in the frame, face covered in a hoodie, holding a can. He sprays something across the garage door in red paint. When the lights finally catch the letters, I nearly dropped my phone. Thief. I rushed outside. The paint was already dry. He had come to my house. In the middle of the night. The cameras had caught everything, but his face was hidden. He was careful. Sloppy but careful. I reported it to the police. They documented it, took photos, pulled the footage. They couldn't promise anything, but with the active case already in the system, they flagged him for questioning. But I didn't wait. I printed the footage myself, made multiple copies, and then I did something I never thought I'd do. I called his ex-wife, the woman he left before moving into my house all those months ago. She answered with a bitter laugh. What? Did he ruin your life too? I explained everything, quickly and calmly. She listened without interrupting. When I told her about the vandalism, she sighed. Yeah, that sounds like him. Childish, reckless, always needing someone to blame. Then she told me her story. He had done it before, lied, manipulated, taken out credit cards in her name. Once even faked a break-in just to get attention. He's not dangerous, she said, but he's a ticking time bomb. He hates losing, especially to another man. That stuck with me. Hates losing, especially to another man. He thought he could take everything and walk away. He thought I'd be too far, too weak, too broken to fight back. But now his life was crumbling, publicly, and all because I didn't fold. I returned to court a week later, this time to handle the civil side of the lawsuit. I walked in alone. He was already there, arms crossed, trying to look tough. But the moment our eyes met, I could see it. Fear, not because I was bigger than him, not because I'd threatened him, but because I didn't, because I'd stayed quiet, stayed patient, stayed in control. We presented the footage of the vandalism, the threatening message, the damage estimate from the spray paint. Jacob made it clear this wasn't just petty revenge. This was harassment. The judge granted a restraining order. Then, when the evidence of his fraudulent activity during my marriage came to light, loan attempts, forged purchases, he was hit with criminal charges. Nothing heavy, but enough to shake up his life. Creditors, fines, a possible sentence if he didn't pay restitution. He sat there, red in the face, staring at the floor like a boy caught cheating in school. After the hearing, he rushed out before I could even stand. And just like that, he disappeared from my life. But what mattered more than anything? I had my house. I had my honor. And I had peace. I didn't jump into another relationship. I didn't go online and air out all the dirty laundry. I just lived. I rebuilt. I got a new job, training younger recruits on the base. I fixed up the house, one weekend at a time, repainted the walls, ripped out the old carpet she picked, planted a new tree in the backyard, and sat by it every evening, just breathing. And I started saving again. Slowly, carefully. I wasn't rich, but I wasn't broken either. One day, about 6 months later, I got a message from an old neighbor. He said he saw my ex, alone, moving out of a cramped apartment across town. No car, no boyfriend, just a couple boxes, and a look of someone who lost everything she gambled on. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel hate. I felt nothing. She had made her choices. I made mine. And the last one I made, the most important one, was to let go. I deleted every file, every message, every reminder, not because I forgot, but because I survived. And I didn't need to carry their poison one step further into life. I was rebuilding. So if you're out there and someone tried to ruin you while you were already fighting your own battles, don't break. Breathe. Wait. Plan. Then rise when it matters most. Because the best revenge is not winning the fight. It's walking away from it with your soul intact.